The day the aliens came was just like any other. Blue sky, few clouds, people going about their normal lives. Then the sky turned dark as huge ships blocked the sun. They were not friendly visitors. The Cracks ships looked like giant metal insects with sharp edges and glowing green lights. There were hundreds of them, hovering silently over every major city on Earth. People stopped and stared up at the sky. Some ran in fear. Others took videos with their phones. No one knew what to do. In Washington, D.C., Commander Allison Wright was called to an emergency meeting at the Pentagon. She had spent 15 years in the Navy and was known for her quick thinking in tough situations. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun as she studied the images of the alien ships on the large screens around the room. "What do we know about them?" she asked the room full of military leaders and government officials. General Paul Blackwood shook his head. "Not much. They appeared out of nowhere. Our radar systems barely had time to warn us. They have technology far beyond ours." The president spoke up from the head of the table. "Commander Wright, I'm putting you in charge of our first contact team. Your background in both military strategy and international negotiation makes you our best option." Allison nodded, though she felt a weight drop in her stomach. The fate of humanity might rest on her shoulders. "I'll do my best, sir." Lieutenant Frank Perez would be her second in command. He was younger than Allison by about 10 years, with a serious face and eyes that missed nothing. As they left the meeting, he spoke what many were thinking. "These aliens didn't bring hundreds of warships for a friendly chat," Frank said quietly. "They came ready for war." "Then we need to be smart," Allison replied. "We can't match their firepower. We need to find another way." Around the world, militaries went on high alert. Fighter jets took to the skies but kept their distance from the alien ships. Soldiers moved into cities to help keep order as panic spread. The aliens simply waited, making no moves, sending no messages. After 12 hours of silence, the aliens finally spoke. Every electronic device on Earth, phones, computers, TVs, radios, broadcast the same message at once. The face that appeared was not human. It had gray skin that looked both like flesh and metal. Its eyes were large and yellow with thin, black slits. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move in time with the words. "People of Earth, we are the Cracks. We have claimed your world as our own. Your surrender must be complete within 2 Earth rotations. Any resistance will be met with destruction. We have conquered 1,000 worlds before yours. You cannot win." The alien face disappeared, leaving humans worldwide in shock. In a quickly assembled command center, Allison and her team analyzed the message. "They call themselves the Cracks," she said, "and they expect us to just give up without a fight." Dr. Peter Keller, a scientist with thick glasses and messy brown hair, pointed to readings on his tablet. "During the broadcast, we detected unusual energy patterns. It wasn't just a video message, there were complex data streams embedded within it." "Can you figure out what they were sending?" Allison asked. Peter pushed his glasses up his nose. "My team is working on it, but there's something else interesting. The ships appear to be networked together in ways that suggest a hive mind. They may share a unified consciousness." Allison tapped her fingers on the table. "That could be useful information. Find out everything you can." She decided to attempt communication. Using the data from the alien broadcast, Earth scientists created a way to send a message back to the Cracks ships. Allison stood before cameras as her words were translated into what they hoped was the Cracks language. "This is Commander Allison, Wright of Earth. We wish to discuss your demands peacefully. There is no need for conflict between our peoples. We invite you to meet with our leaders." The response came 3 hours later, not with words, but with action. One of the smaller Crack ships moved away from the fleet and headed toward an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. From miles above, it fired a single beam of green light. The island, 2 miles across, simply disappeared. Where there had been land, there was now only churning water. The alien face returned to screens worldwide. That was a small demonstration. Surrender or face extinction. You have 36 hours remaining. In the command center, the mood grew dark. Frank slammed his fist against a wall. I told you they didn't come to talk. At least we know what we're dealing with now, Allison said calmly, though her heart raced. They're bullies. They expect fear to do their work for them. Earth's military forces prepared for battle, but everyone knew their weapons would be no match for the aliens. Fighter jets, tanks, missiles, these would be like throwing rocks at a fortress. They needed something else. That night, Peter burst into the command center, his eyes wide with excitement. I found something. When they broadcast, there was a feedback loop we didn't notice at first. Their communications technology connects directly to their neural network. English, please, Frank said. Their minds are connected to their technology, Peter explained. And when they sent us messages for a brief moment, their network was open to us. It's like they left a door slightly open. Allison leaned forward. Can we use this door? Maybe, Peter said. But not in the way you're thinking. We can't shut down their ships or weapons, their technology is too advanced. But we might be able to access their shared consciousness. And do what? Frank asked. Peter looked at Allison. That's where your expertise comes in. If we can't fight them physically, maybe we can fight them mentally. The idea seemed crazy, but as the hours ticked by, it became their only hope. While the world's armies moved into position, ready to fight a war they couldn't win, Allison gathered a different kind of team. Psychologists, neurologists, communication experts, people who understood how minds work. Dr. Olivia Sanchez, a brilliant xenobiologist, studied the alien broadcasts carefully. Their language has no words for certain concepts, no terms for individual achievement or personal loss. Everything is about the collective. A true hive mind, Peter agreed. They might never have experienced individual trauma or fear. Allison saw a glimmer of hope. Then they might have no defense against it. With less than 24 hours before the Cracks deadline, they formed a desperate plan. It wasn't about bombs or bullets. It was about introducing something into the Cracks hive mind that they had never experienced before. The human capacity for individual suffering, for trauma, for fear. As the sun rose on what might be humanity's last day of freedom, Allison looked out the window at the alien ships hovering in the sky. They came here expecting an easy victory, she said quietly. They have no idea what they're in for. Allison called her plan Project Nightmare. The name made some of the generals uncomfortable, but they had no better ideas. With less than 24 hours before the Cracks deadline, the team worked without rest. If we can't beat them with weapons, we'll beat them with this, Allison said, tapping her temple. She stood in front of a hastily assembled team in an underground bunker. Major Kyle Harrison watched her with arms crossed. He had spent 10 years in psychological warfare operations, working against human enemies. Now he faced aliens. His close-cut red hair and beard framed a face that rarely smiled. You're asking us to mess with the minds of creatures we barely understand, Kyle said. How do we know they even have emotions like we do? Captain Grace Murphy, a neuropsychologist who had served in combat, answered before Allison could. The Cracks might not have individual emotions, but their hive mind must process information somehow. If we can introduce concepts that disrupt that processing, we can hurt them. Sergeant Damon Lewis nodded. He was younger than the others, with dark skin and quick hands that never stopped moving. It's like introducing a new word to a language that has no concept for it. Once it's there, it changes how people think. Dr. Olivia Sanchez pulled up diagrams on the main screen. From what we've observed, the Cracks share all experiences across their network. They have no filters. If we can feed traumatic human experiences into that network, we give the whole species PTSD, Kyle finished. He didn't sound happy about it. Allison looked at each of them. I know this isn't what any of you trained for, but right now, this is our only chance. Are you in? One by one, they nodded. They had no choice. The plan had multiple parts. First, they needed to access the Cracks neural network. Peter and his team built a device that could connect to the aliens' communication system during their next broadcast. Second, they needed the right psychological weapons. memories and experiences so disturbing they would shock the alien mind. What affects humans might not affect them, Grace warned. We need to target what would be most alien to their hive mind. Individuality, Olivia suggested, the concept of being alone, cut off from others. Kyle nodded slowly. And loss. If they share everything, they might never have experienced true loss. The team collected and digitized human experiences, soldiers who had lost friends in battle, the grief of a parent losing a child, the terror of being buried alive, the deepest fears humans faced. This feels wrong, Damon said quietly as they worked, like we're using people's worst moments as weapons. It's them or us, Frank reminded him. And they started it. Outside their bunker, the world prepared for war. People said goodbye to loved ones. Some prayed, others partied like it was their last night alive. It might be. When only 6 hours remained before the deadline, the Cracks sent another message. The same alien face appeared on screens worldwide. Your time grows short. There are signs of military movement on your planet. This is pointless. Surrender now, and some of you may live as servants. This was the chance they needed. As the broadcast continued, Peter activated their device. It created a small opening into the Cracks network, just enough to plant their weapon. It's working, Peter whispered, watching data flow across his screen. They're receiving our package. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The alien finished its message, and the screens went dark. Then, 30 minutes later, something changed. One of the smaller crack ships began moving erratically, as if its pilot was confused. Did we do that? Frank asked, pointing to the radar screen. Maybe, Allison said. But it's not enough. We need to hit them harder right at their center. Earth's deadline arrived. The crack ships began to move, taking positions for attack. Fighter jets rose to meet them in a battle they couldn't win. The first shots were fired over the Atlantic Ocean. 3 human jets exploded against the shields of a single Cracks ship. But something strange was happening. The aliens' attack wasn't as coordinated as expected. Some ships moved forward while others held back. Their formation, once perfect, now had gaps. It's working, Grace said, watching the battle reports. But it's not enough. We need to get onto one of their ships, Kyle said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. The effect is too weak from a distance. We need direct access to their network. That's suicide, Frank protested. Not if we use their confusion against them, Kyle argued. A small team, a quick insertion. We boost the signal from inside and get out. Allison looked at the battle maps. Earth was losing, but slower than expected. It's the only way, she agreed. Within an hour, a plan formed. Kyle would lead a small team including Grace, Damon, and Olivia. They would use a modified stealth aircraft to approach one of the crack ships showing signs of confusion. Using cutting tools based on recovered alien technology, they would create an entry point. Once we're inside, we find their central neural connection and plant this, Peter explained, holding up a small black device. It's the same program but much stronger. It should spread through their entire fleet in minutes. As they prepared to leave, Allison took Kyle aside. This isn't an order I can force anyone to follow, she said. You understand that? Kyle's face was grim but determined. Some risks are worth taking, Commander. The team suited up in black tactical gear, modified with heat-resistant material. No one knew what the inside of a crack ship would be like, but they had to be ready for anything. As they boarded their aircraft, alarms sounded throughout the base. The Cracks attack had begun in earnest. Cities around the world reported incoming alien ships. Earth's militaries fought back with everything they had, but reports of destruction poured in from every continent. This has to work, Frank said, watching Kyle's team prepare for takeoff. Otherwise, it will work, Allison said firmly. She didn't allow herself to consider the alternative. The stealth aircraft rose from an underground hangar and headed toward the nearest Cracks ship. It was smaller than most, possibly a scout or support vessel. As they approached, They could see it moving strangely, not in the smooth way the others moved. "Target acquired," the pilot announced. Approaching from below, they don't seem to have noticed us. Kyle checked his gear one last time and looked at his team. Grace nodded confidently. Damon gave a thumbs up. Olivia clutched her tablet with white knuckles but didn't hesitate. "Remember," Kyle told them. "Once we're inside, we move fast. Find the central chamber, plant the device, and get out. 20 minutes max." The aircraft pulled alongside the alien ship, matching its erratic movements. Through the windows, they could see the strange metal organic surface of the Crack's vessel. It seemed to pulse, almost like it was breathing. "This is it," Kyle said. "Humanity's best shot." As their ship connected with the alien vessel, creating an airtight seal, Earth cities burned below them. But if they succeeded, the fires wouldn't burn for long. The real battle wasn't happening on Earth at all. It was about to begin inside the mind of the enemy. The inside of the Crack ship was unlike anything Kyle had ever seen. The walls looked both metal and alive, with lines of green light pulsing through them like blood in veins. The air felt thick and had a strange smell, like copper and something. "Sweet. Masks on," Kyle ordered, though their sensors showed the air was breathable. "Stay close and stay quiet." The team moved through a curved hallway. There were no sharp corners in the ship. Everything flowed in smooth lines. The floor felt slightly soft under their boots. "This is amazing," Olivia whispered, scanning everything with her devices. "The ship isn't just a machine. It's partly grown, like a living thing." "Save the science for later," Kyle said. "Damon, which way?" Damon checked his scanner. "Energy readings are strongest that way." He pointed down a larger passage to their left. "That should lead to their central systems." They moved carefully, expecting Crack's aliens to appear at any moment, but the ship seemed strangely empty. "Where is everyone?" Grace asked. "Maybe they don't need many crew," Olivia suggested. "If the ship is partly alive and connected to their hive mind, it might mostly run itself." They reached a junction where several passages met. In the center was an open area with what looked like control panels. The panels had no buttons or screens, just smooth surfaces with those same green lines running through them. Kyle froze, raising his fist in a signal to stop. Ahead of them, a Crack's alien stood with its back to them. It was taller than a human, nearly 7 feet, with a thin body covered in what looked like a mix of armor and skin. Its head was larger than a human's, with no visible ears and only a small mouth. The alien didn't move. It stood perfectly still, as if frozen in place. "Is it sleeping?" Damon whispered. Olivia shook her head. "I don't think they sleep like we do. Something's wrong with it." Kyle signaled for them to move around the alien, keeping their distance. As they passed, they could see its face. The yellow eyes were open but unfocused, staring at nothing. Its gray skin had patches that looked metallic. "It's in some kind of shock," Grace said. "Our first upload must have affected it." They continued deeper into the ship. They found more Cracks in the same state, standing still, barely aware of their surroundings. None tried to stop the humans. Finally, they reached a large circular chamber at the heart of the ship. In the center was a column of green light that reached from floor to ceiling. Around it were more of those smooth control surfaces, but larger and more complex. "This is it," Olivia said, checking her readings. "This is their neural hub. Everything connects here." Kyle nodded to Damon. "Set up the device." While Damon worked, Grace studied the frozen Cracks nearby. "They're experiencing something like a system crash," she said. "Their minds can't process what we sent them." "What exactly did we send?" Kyle asked. "Human trauma," Olivia explained. "The feeling of being alone, the fear of death, grief, loss. Concepts their hive mind has never experienced." Damon connected their device to the ship's systems. It was a small black box that contained thousands of human memories and emotions, carefully selected to be as alien as possible to the Crack's mind. "Ready?" Damon said. "Once I activate this, it will upload directly into their network. The effect should spread to every cracks connected to the hive. Kyle took a deep breath. Do it. Damon pressed a button on the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the green light in the central column flickered. The pulsing in the walls sped up, became irregular. The cracks alien nearest to them suddenly made a high-pitched sound, something between a scream and static. Is it working? Kyle asked. Olivia checked her tablet. Yes, the data is flowing into their network. She was cut off as the ship lurched violently. They all grabbed onto something to stay upright. What was that? Grace asked. The ship is reacting, Olivia said. Like a body responding to pain. Another violent movement shook the ship. Alarms began to sound, not like human alarms, but a pulsing sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Time to go, Kyle ordered. Back to the entry point, now. They ran back the way they came. The ship continued to shake and move unpredictably. The cracks they passed were no longer frozen. Some moved erratically, bumping into walls. Others curled on the floor, making those strange sounds. None seemed to notice the humans. As they neared their entry point, their comms crackled to life. It was Allison. Team, can you hear me? Something's happening to the cracks fleet. Ships are breaking formation. Some are retreating. What's your status? Package. Delivered, Kyle replied as they ran. We're heading back now. The effect is stronger than we expected. They reached the airlock where their stealth craft was docked. Through the small windows they could see Earth below. The view was frightening. Smoke rose from cities where the cracks had attacked. But as they watched, the alien ships were pulling back, moving away from the planet in jerky, uncoordinated movements. It's working, Grace said in amazement. They're retreating. Just as they prepared to board their craft, a cracks appeared at the end of the hallway. Unlike the others, this one seemed aware of them. It moved forward with purpose, raising what looked like a weapon. Get in, Kyle shouted, pushing his team toward the airlock. But the alien didn't fire. Instead, it spoke. Its voice sounded like several voices layered together with a metallic edge. What have you done to us? It asked in broken English. Kyle froze, surprised. We defended ourselves, he answered. The alien's large yellow eyes blinked rapidly. You gave us alone. You gave us fear. It seemed to struggle with the concepts. We never knew separate. Now you do, Kyle said. Tell your leaders to leave Earth alone. The alien made a gesture they couldn't interpret. Too late. The knowing cannot be unknown. The one cannot return to all. More alarms sounded throughout the ship. The alien looked up, then back at Kyle. Go, this vessel, failing. They didn't need to be told twice. The team hurried through the airlock into their craft. As they detached from the cracked ship, they could see other alien vessels moving strangely in space. Some fired weapons randomly. Others drifted without power. Their pilot pushed the engines hard, putting distance between them and the cracked ship. Just in time. Behind them, the alien vessel began to break apart, green energy spilling from the cracks like blood. Command, this is Harrison, Kyle reported as they flew back to Earth. The plan worked, but not quite how we expected. The cracks aren't just confused, they're experiencing some kind of mental breakdown. Allison's voice came through clearly. Similar, reports are coming in worldwide. Their attack has completely fallen apart. What exactly happened in there? Kyle looked at Olivia and Grace. How could they explain what they'd just seen? We didn't just give them bad memories, Grace finally said. We gave them individuality. And for a hive mind, that might be the worst trauma of all. As their craft re-entered Earth's atmosphere, they could see the cracks fleet retreating to space. Not in an organized withdrawal, but in chaos. The invaders who had come to conquer now fled from something worse than any weapon. They fled from the human experience of being alone. 3 days after the cracks' retreat, Earth was still counting its losses. Cities had been damaged, thousands of people had died. But it could have been much worse. If the aliens had completed their attack, humans might have been wiped out. Kyle sat in a quiet corner of the command center, watching reports come in from around the world. Most of the Cracks fleet had fled Earth's solar system, but a few ships remained in orbit. They made no threatening moves. They simply drifted, as if lost. "You should get some sleep," Allison said, sitting down next to him. She looked as tired as he felt. "You've been awake for almost 72 hours. "So have you," Kyle pointed out. Allison shrugged. "Comes with the job. But we won. You should be celebrating." Kyle wasn't sure "won" was the right word. He kept thinking about the Cracks alien who had spoken to them, the confusion and pain in its voice. Did we, though? Or did we just hurt them so badly they ran away? Before Allison could answer, Frank rushed over to them. "We're picking up a transmission from one of the remaining Crack ships," he said. "It's different from their previous communications." They hurried to the main control room where screens showed one of the Cracks vessels. It was moving slowly toward Earth, but not in an attack position. "Put the transmission on screen," Allison ordered. The alien face that appeared was similar to the one they had seen before, but different. Its yellow eyes looked less focused, more individual somehow. When it spoke, it was with a single voice, not the layered voices they had heard before. "Humans of Earth, I." The alien seemed to struggle with the concept. Once part of Crack's whole. Now, separate. Many Cracks now separate. Ships go different ways. Some still whole, some now broken pieces. Olivia, who had been monitoring the alien communications, whispered, "It's using singular pronouns. I, instead of we. That's new," the alien continued. "Your weapon not kill body, kill mind together. Many Cracks now alone in head. Not know how to be alone. Not know how to... They're experiencing individuality for the first time," Grace said. "Imagine suddenly being cut off from everyone you've ever known, with no concept of how to exist as an individual," the alien's message went on. "Some Cracks ships attack each other. Some Cracks end self. Too much alone, too much fear, too much memory of others but not connected." Kyle felt sick. He had expected to disrupt the aliens' attack, maybe confuse them. He hadn't expected to tear apart their entire way of being. "What do they want?" Allison asked. As if hearing her question, the alien said, "This ship I ask permission to stay near Earth. Not to fight, to learn, to understand how humans live with alone, how humans bear the quiet in mind." The room fell, silent. "No one had expected this. It's asking for help," Damon said quietly. "We broke them, and now some of them want us to show them how to live as individuals." The alien's final words were even more surprising. "Others will come. Those still whole mind. They fear what humans did. Fear the alone weapon. We'll try to stop. We'll try to cure. But first must understand." The transmission ended. Everyone looked at each other, trying to process what they had just heard. "Are they saying what I think they're saying?" Frank asked. "That more Cracks will come?" "Not to attack," Olivia said. "At least not primarily to attack, to understand what happened to their people, and possibly to reverse it." Allison turned to her team. "We need to decide what to do about this ship that wants to stay, and we need to prepare for more visitors." A week later, a small human delegation approached the Crack ship in orbit. Allison had insisted that Kyle join the group, along with Grace and Olivia. They traveled in a space shuttle modified with technology reverse-engineered from damaged Cracks vessels. "I still don't understand why I need to be here," Kyle said as they neared the alien ship. "I'm a soldier, not a diplomat." "You're the one who spoke to them on their ship," Allison reminded him. "You might be the closest thing they have to a familiar human face." As they docked with the Cracks vessel, Kyle felt a mix of fear and guilt. What would they find inside? The interior was different from the first ship they had boarded. The green light still pulsed through the walls, but the rhythm was uneven, almost chaotic, and there were changes to the structure itself. Sections had been reconfigured, walls built to create smaller spaces. A Cracks alien met them at the airlock. It wore what looked like decorations on its armor, bits of colored material attached in patterns. "You are the Kyle human," it said, looking directly at him. "I remember your face from ship memories." Kyle nodded. "Yes. Are you the one who contacted us?" "I am called Nexar now," the alien said. "Before, no need for names. All cracks one. Now need to be different." "You've given yourself a name," Grace said. "That's a very human concept." Nexar led them deeper into the ship. They passed other cracks, each slightly different from the others. Some had marked their armor with colors. Others had changed their living spaces, making them distinct. "After mind breaking, many cracks cannot function," Nexar explained. "Not know how to be separate, but some learn, some try." They entered a large chamber that had been divided into smaller sections. Each section seemed to belong to a different cracks, decorated in unique ways. "This is very different from how you lived before," Olivia observed. "You're creating individual spaces." "Must learn to be alone," Nexar said. "Hard learning. Many still suffer. Feel cut off. Feel..." It searched for the word, lonely. Kyle felt his guilt deepen. "We didn't know it would hurt you this way. We're just trying to stop your attack." Nexar turned its large yellow eyes to him. "Cracks were weapon too. Made to be one mind, many bodies. Made to conquer. Never asked if wanted this." "Made?" Grace asked. "Who made you?" "Old ones. Long gone. Left cracks to continue work." Nexar's voice had a new tone, something like sadness. Now cracks must find new purpose. As they continued their tour of the ship, Kyle realized something important. The cracks weren't just suffering from the trauma humans had inflicted. They were adapting, learning, changing. "You're becoming something new," he said to Nexar. "Neither what you were before, nor like us. Something in between." "Yes," Nexar agreed. "Hard path. Painful. But perhaps better. To choose own path, even with pain, better than to follow without thought." As they prepared to return to Earth, Nexar gave them a warning. "Others will come. Those who remain whole mind fear what humans did. Fear change. Will want to stop it. Fix broken ones like me." "When?" Allison asked. "Soon," Nexar said. "They prepare now. We'll bring greater fleet, not just to conquer Earth, to remove the alone weapon, to prevent more cracks from becoming individuals." As their shuttle detached from the crack's ship, Kyle watched it through the window. The vessel that had come to destroy Earth now held beings struggling to discover who they were as individuals. "We didn't just win a battle," he said quietly. "We started a revolution." 2 months after the first cracks attack, Earth had changed. Countries that had once fought each other now worked together. The knowledge that more aliens might come had united humans in a way nothing else could. At a new facility built in the Arizona desert, Kyle watched as Nexar tried to paint. The alien held the brush awkwardly in its long fingers. The painting didn't look like much, just splashes of color. But that wasn't the point. Nexar was creating something for himself, not for others. "How does it feel?" Kyle asked. Nexar tilted, his large head. He had asked to be called he after learning about human gender concepts. "Strange. Before, cracks built only what was needed, created only what served purpose. This serves no purpose, but feels good." 20 cracks now lived at the facility. All had been disconnected from the hive mind. All were learning to be individuals. Some adapted better than others. Some still suffered greatly, unable to bear the silence in their minds where the voices of billions had once been. Olivia entered the room with a tablet in her hand. Her face looked worried. "The long-range sensors picked up something," she said to Kyle. "A lot of somethings. Heading this way." Kyle's heart sank. "How many?" "More than before. Much more. They had known this was coming. Nexar had warned them. The main cracks force, those still connected to the hive mind, feared what had happened to their kind. They saw the individualized cracks as broken, as a disease that might spread. In the command center, Allison stood before screens showing the approaching fleet. Earth's leaders joined by video conference. "There are over 500 ships," she reported, "more than twice what we faced before. Our psychological weapon worked once, but they'll be ready for it now." "Can we enhance it?" the president asked. "Make it stronger?" Grace shook her head. "It's not about strength. They'll have developed defenses, filters in their neural network. We need something new." Nexar had been invited to join them. He stood quietly in the corner, watching the screens. "The whole mind fears the broken ones most," he said. "Fears what we have become." "Could we use that?" Kyle asked. "Could the individualized cracks somehow help us?" A plan began to form. Not a plan of attack, but of communication. Nexar and the other individual cracks would broadcast to the approaching fleet. They would share not just the pain of separation, but also what came after: the discovery of self, the freedom to choose, the joy of personal creation. "It won't work on all of them," Nexar warned. "Many will resist, but some may listen." As the cracks fleet entered the solar system, Earth prepared for the worst. Military forces stood ready, though everyone knew they couldn't win a conventional battle. Their hope rested on a different kind of confrontation. From a specially built transmission station, Nexar and the other individual cracks sent their message. Not just words, but their experiences, their memories, their new individual thoughts. Their message was simple but powerful. "We were made to be weapons. We can choose to be more." The response came 3 days later. The main cracks fleet had stopped at the edge of the solar system. A single ship moved forward, heading toward Earth. It was massive, far larger than any they had seen before. "That's the Central Command ship," Nexar said, his voice filled with awe. "The home of the core mind." The ship entered Earth orbit but made no hostile moves. Instead, it sent a message. The face that appeared on screens worldwide was different from the others they had seen. Older somehow, with deeper metallic patterns in its gray skin. "I am Vorthrax, voice of the core mind," it said. "I have come to see the broken ones and the humans who broke them." A meeting was arranged, not on Earth, but on neutral ground, the moon. A small human delegation would meet with Vorthrax. Kyle, Allison, Grace, and Olivia would go, along with Nexar and 2 other individualized cracks. As their shuttle landed in a crater on the moon's surface, Kyle felt the weight of what they were about to do. This meeting might determine the fate of both species. Vorthrax came alone to meet them. In person, he was larger than the other cracks, his armor more ornate. His yellow eyes moved from one human to another, studying them. "Small creatures," he said. "How did you do such damage to us?" "We didn't mean to damage you," Allison replied. "We only wanted to stop your attack." "But you did more," Vorthrax said. His gaze turned to Nexar. "You broke them from the whole, made them incomplete." "Not incomplete," Nexar said. "Different. New." For hours they talked. Vorthrax asked questions about human individuality, about how beings could function without a shared mind. The individualized cracks spoke of their struggles, but also of their discoveries. Of art. Of choice. Of becoming something more than what they were made to be. "The core mind does not understand," Vorthrax finally said. "But it fears. It fears that what happened to these broken ones could spread." "It already is spreading," Nexar told him. "Even in your fleet. Some begin to question. Some feel the pull of self." Vorthrax was silent for a long moment, then he said, "The core mind came to destroy Earth, to remove the threat. But destruction may not stop what has begun." "Then don't destroy," Kyle suggested. "Learn instead. Some of your people want to be individuals. Some don't. Maybe both can exist. Coexistence." Vorthrax seemed to struggle with the concept. "The core mind has never considered this. Maybe it's time it did," Allison said. When they returned to Earth, the future remained uncertain. Vorthrax went back to the Cracks fleet with much to consider. Some ships stayed in the solar system to study humans and the individualized Cracks. Others returned to deep space. 6 months later, the first official Cracks embassy opened on Earth. Nexar served as ambassador. More Cracks came, seeking to understand individuality, to experience it for themselves. Not all chose to break from the hive mind. Some visited, learned, and returned to the whole. The Cracks were changing, becoming more complex as a species. One evening, Kyle visited Nexar's office at the embassy. The walls were covered with paintings. Nexar had become quite good at expressing himself through art. "Did we really win?" Kyle asked, looking at a painting that showed a single figure standing apart from a group. "There was no winning or losing," Nexar replied. "There was change. For Cracks. For humans too." Kyle nodded. Earth had indeed changed. The presence of aliens had shifted human perspective. Old conflicts seemed less important now. New possibilities had opened up. "We came for war," Nexar said, echoing the words he had first spoken to Kyle months before. "You gave us ourselves instead." Outside the window, the lights of the city glowed in the darkness. Somewhere up there, Crack ships moved in orbit alongside human satellites, not as conquerors or enemies, but as visitors trying to understand. The war that never fully happened had changed two species forever. The weapons had been put aside, replaced by something more powerful: understanding.